talking Lights on Linker on the Spotlight today, and with me are the brains behind the operation, Mike Lacefield, Brewer, and who do you guys have with you today?
We have
needs
Claire.
Special introduction.
Yeah, introduce yourself, Claire.
Claire Lacefield. I'm his daughter.
All right, outstanding, Claire. All three of you are intricately involved with Lights on Linker. We've got some video that we're going to be showing throughout the interview today. So just a heads up that you might be seeing some very Christmassy kinds of things across your screen in the next little bit. But this is a fascinating thing that you guys have done. I've gone the last 3 years. I brought my wife and my little girl up there. We love it. It's a Christmas tradition. But it all has to start somewhere. And it had to start with you coming to Russellville. How did that happen?
Well, my daughter, I lived in Dallas, and my daughter came up here on a softball scholarship. I'm originally from Little Rock, so Arkansas was kind of always home, but I've raised my children down there. I came to Russellville several times to come see her, and I was driving out West Main one day, and I was just like, I really love it here. And she's like, Mom, you should move. And I said, I think I will.
Okay.
I had just come off of a divorce, and it was just a fresh start. I was like, I really like it here. So I up and moved, got a job. I've been in the same job for almost 11 years now.
Wow.
And anyway, very glad to be here. It's a really great community to live in.
Mike, your story is a little bit different. You've been here and you never really left.
Well, grew up, my dad was in the military, and so I was born in Ohio. We moved all over different Air Force bases. And when he retired, my uncle lived here, and it's like, we kind of want to try that. So we moved here when I was going into the 6th grade, and this has been my home ever since. So I've been here since 1979.
So the two of you meet.
Mm-hmm.
How? What's that story like?
We sort of met online. I was trying to reach out to local people, honestly, to do some job networking, try to find a job opportunity up here. And anyway, we met online, and it's funny, we talked a few times, didn't really hit it off or anything, but then after I lived up here about 6 months, I don't know, we were friends on Facebook and stuff, and he invited me up to just go on a 4-wheeler ride, and we've been together ever since. It's been 10 and a half years.
10 and a half years.
That's a long 4-wheeler ride.
Yes, it is a very long 4-wheeler ride.
We've upgraded 4-wheelers once. So.
Yes, we did. We did get a new 4-wheeler.
Oh, that's good. And so, to me, those are the kinds of stories that I absolutely love. I love hearing why people showed up here, why they came here, why they stayed here. Before we get into Lights on Linker, Brooke, here's my question for you. You said, I was driving through here, I really love it here, but why? Why did you love it here?
Number one, the friendliness of the people here. Living in Dallas, I'll tell you, I lived in Frisco, and our house is, you have a giant house, but on a tiny, tiny lot, and here things were a little more spread out, bigger lots, the trees, the friendliness of the people really stood out to me. Like, I could go to a restaurant and people would say hi to you. I mean, I lived in the same house for the last 7 years. I lived in Texas and didn't even know my neighbors. Everybody just kind of went home and shut their front door. It had lawn services, so you didn't even see people out mowing their lawn to even meet your neighbors. So it stood out to me that Russellville was just a much friendlier place, and I still think that to this day.
So Lights on Linker, this thing has really kind of taken on a life of its own. Before we get into the origin story there, 5, 6, 7 years ago, could you have imagined that this is what it would look like and this is what you'd be doing?
Absolutely not.
No. We didn't even put out Christmas lights.
Yeah.
6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Well, a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
So why did this start? Because before we get into that, if you've not been to Lights on Linker, and we've got some video now, it's not like your Christmas lights. It's almost like going to a miniature TSO show, because there's all of the lights and they program the music to the radio, and then I mean, my kid just absolutely thinks it's awesome, and I do too. I mean, I have gone up there without the wife and kids before. I have. It has happened. You know, just like, kind of driving around, just enjoying things. So and even, somebody compared it to the Jennings Osborne's displays back in Hot Springs. While they were far bigger, I don't know that they were as extravagant even as what you guys have got on your house. Why did this start?
Well, I want to address your James Osborne display deal. My grandmother lived not too far from him, and so I remember taking my kids by that house. We almost by necessity, because we had to drive there to get to my grandmother's, and just the amazement that it created for our family, and those are memories that we still have to this day. But really, how this all started was that we have a boat, and we had been invited to participate in the Christmas light show parade on the Lake Dardanelle.
The floating Christmas parade by the
parade. And so, we're just thinking, okay, this is cool.
Well, first we got invited, but I was out of town like the first year or two, and finally we had an opportunity where I was home, so we decorated up the boat and did it.
And we put some pretty fancy lights even that first year. There was stuff that people didn't have, and anyway, we won first place. And so it's like, okay, well, now we got to keep up an ante a little, each year. And
we can't be less than what we did last year.
Well, sure.
Right.
So we
on a cool side note though, we won the first year we went, and you win a little bit of money. It's not much, but and we turned around and we donated it back to the Rust Bus because they were the sponsor of it. And so, Claire, tell them about how you got excited about that.
Well, I really had no idea what the Rust Bus was and what it was for, and my dad explained it to me, and I still didn't fully understand, but it was just so cool to me that they did all this for it and everything else. So then I went around asking people for money for the Rust Bus. And the biggest help was my grandpa's Hardy's friend. They all gave me about $5, and I raised over $100 and donated it to them. And then one of Miss Brooke's friends that I think she works with matched
he went
my
to
money.
school with her, I think.
Or went to school with her, matched my money.
Wow.
And donated it. So I thought that was cool.
Well, two things that you just said that we should probably elaborate on. First off, your grandpa's Hardy's breakfast group of friends, that group of guys who always meet at Hardy's, that's where most of the world's problems are solved, right there, is at that table at Hardy's. Number two, if you're not familiar with the Rust Bus, what the Rust Bus does is takes care of most of the homeless folks here in this area. Fred Teague does a great job. He's been on this show twice now, and you can reach them at therustbus.org or check them out on Facebook. They do a great job. They're just about to move into the new building over at the former Journey building, so I'm excited about that. Josh Dunbar was talking about that earlier. So, continue, just so that we know. Rust Bus, this is how this started at the Christmas parade.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she got really excited about it, and it got all of us. It's like, man, we gotta do this. We gotta do it bigger and better. And I remember telling Brooke, it's like, man, this is really cool, but I want some of those lights that run off a computer. Didn't have a clue what they were, and she took it on herself to dive in, and she started doing the research. And then, you take it from there. You're the ones that started doing it.
So I did. I really dove into it head first, and I was introduced to a local young man by the name of Trevor Coates.
Trevor Coates does a great job.
Yes. And anyway, he helped me kind of go the right direction, and great young man. And anyway, I just dove into it. Bought the equipment. We put it on the boat that next year. Had a 10-foot leg lamp, like a Christmas Story.
I think I emceed the parade that year.
Yeah.
I remember the leg lamp, and I thought, okay.
We had our
All right.
bunny suits and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah,
Had the fragile box and,
Right.
and the bunny suit.
That was I remember that one well. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, we did that. Had the light show running on the boat, and anyway, he happened to need to go out of town like the next day for work. So I went home, went to church, sat down, and they had a sermon. It just was about how you have the ability to change somebody's Christmas. And I said, you know what? I do. And I went home. I started pulling that equipment off the boat. I started putting lights up on all the trees in my shrubs all over the house. I reprogrammed and everything, set it all up where I could run that equipment. And within a few days, I had a light show running. And I was like, don't know if anyone would even come here because we're kind of in the sticks. I mean, we're not, just a highly traveled neighborhood. But within a few days, we had cars out there.
Yeah.
And it came pretty quickly. And I was like all excited. I'd be looking out the window. Oh, there's a car! There's a car! It was that excitement that people were really interested in it. And that first year we didn't hand out candy canes like we do now, but we have some security cameras on the house, and they don't normally record the street view, but for some reason, one night, this car came up. They watched the show, didn't set it off until they got to my driveway, and it set it off. And all of a sudden, the end of the song came, and there was a little boy at the top of his lungs. That was awesome! He's clapping, and the whole car's going, bravo! And I was like, that was it.
Yep.
I just changed somebody's Christmas, and they're going to want to come back. That little boy's going to remember.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go to that house that had the cool lights. And
Just like you did with Jennings Osborne.
absolutely. And from there on out, it was game on. and so, I happened to watch Great Christmas Light Fight. I saw a display that I really, really liked, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to do that. It was the Peace Family Light Display. David Peace is the guy's name, and I've met him several times now. A really great guy. Anyway, he was my inspiration. I loved what he did, and I was like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn. And it's a lot. It's a lot to learn. But after several years of doing this, it's come together a little more how I would like it to. But there's always ways to move forward and get bigger and better.
I need to make a comment here, because what you're talking about learning is really, really hard. I mean, I've been in live production for nearly 20 years. I mean, and you guys have got Corey Pintado involved on his voiceover and that kind of thing, and he'll tell you, I mean, lighting is not easy. I mean, even in the old days of, like, we can get into the nerd talk of the DMX lighting and all the daisy chaining and stuff that you have to do. The programming on these things is not easy. And yet, I'm gonna tell a little story on you. I brought my mother-in-law to the Journey Hub, for y'all's Journey Hub on Sunday. And Brooke just kind of casually mentions, oh, yeah, I got to go home, program 3 more songs. And she did, and it was ready, that afternoon. It's not easy work.
No, it's not. It's not. It takes a lot of time. And when I said program, it was adding a couple of new things that I just didn't have in there already. The song just wasn't quite polished enough. And so I did get those in there and got 3 new songs put out there. But it's a lot of work throughout the year. We moved some things around. Every time I move something around, I have to go back and change how things look to make it pop and make things go all the way across the house.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours throughout my year go into programming and putting the lights together. Each one of those lights pretty much has to be pushed by hand, and my fingers are always calloused. Claire gets involved in pushing pixels, and so does Mike. And sometimes friends that come over, it's like, okay, let's sit down and.
Yeah, you came over to visit, but let's push some pixels while you're here.
Mike's here for you, and so we have a lot of really great friends that help us throughout the process, and we have a friend from Dallas every year that comes up Thanksgiving week, and they are very instrumental in getting us up and running, and the AG family. And,
they spend. And matter of fact, that's a former Dardanelle. She was a Nash, Lori Nash.
Oh,
She was
okay.
Miss. What was she? Miss Mount Nebo, Miss Lake Dardanelle. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But anyway, it's funny how. And they actually come up and enjoy helping.
Mhm.
But let's give the full credit where it's due. She does most of the work, and if something were to happen, I can't even start the computer to get the program to run. Okay, now I can cut the wires and I can splice and I can build props, and I'm the roof guy, and I do the dirty work. But also, and my favorite thing is we've got, I'm gonna say, close to 1,000 strobe lights, flashlights out in the front, and that's what we use. All you do is plug those in, daisy chain them. So that's my job. I do if it's a dumb light, that's mine. But if it's anything to do with the computer programming, any of that, it's all her.
Yeah, there's a lot of computer networking involved, and that's how it really all works. And so I'm a computer nerd. So it delving into this was not that difficult, but there's a lot of learning involved.
The dad in me right now is screaming one major question, and then we will get back into the lights. If somebody even so much as touches my thermostat, I know. So the light bill, oh my goodness.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I know, that's all I always hear.
These are very, very high efficiency lights, and they're not always on either. So you have to know when they're not producing a color. They're not actually on. They run off of 12 volt power supplies, 350 watt power supplies, and they're so they do not take up very much power. Probably we're around 33,000 lights this year. Probably have I don't know.
It might, our bill may go up $40-$50 for the month that we do the light show. But the other thing is, she's able to program these lights, and believe it or not, everybody thinks more is better. And if they were running at 100%, oh, it would be awesome. And they're not. We've played around with them. Most of these lights are running at 20% of their capability.
20% brightness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're blinding at 20%.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of competing lights, so people in town or something might have other street lights and things like that. But since we're kind of in the sticks, we don't have a lot of light out there to compete with.
Speaking of competing lights, I live in Atkins, and I put up my Christmas lights the other day. And then, not 2 days later, my neighbor puts up his Christmas lights, and they are just slightly better than the thing that I did. I ask this because if I'm living next to you, I'm thinking, well, I can't do that. What's the conversations in the neighborhood been like?
Our neighbors have been extremely supportive. They stop by every day for the show. I've had nothing but positive feedback from my neighbors. I realize, sometimes the traffic gets backed up, especially as it gets closer to Christmas. But even we take a different path. We'll go up the other side of the mountain when we come home to try to keep from getting in our own line.
Yeah.
So, but I've had nothing but great support from our neighbors.
Yeah, and to brag on them, when we first started doing this, we're like, man, I guarantee you somebody's going to throw a fit. Nobody has. Nobody's been mad. And matter of fact, most of our street is lit up now when it didn't used to be. We've got one neighbor, and he's awesome. He does inflatables, and his entire yard is inflatables. It's been that way. I moved up there in 2005, and it was that way back then. So he does a lot of work and takes a lot of pride. And he's thankful for our show because we're bringing more people by to admire what he's doing. And then on down the street, everywhere, it is much more lit up. And another example was Halloween. We never have trick-or-treaters. A poor kid would wear himself out going to 3 houses.
Right.
They're so spread out. But we decided, hey, we're going to do a Halloween show. And she put it on Lights on Linker that we were doing that. And we went from 5 or 6 trick-or-treaters was the average to probably 200, close to it.
Wow.
Yeah, just by letting them know.
And then I wanted to do a hayride, so we took all my friends and their granddaughter out on a hayride and went trick-or-treating around our neighborhood.
Yeah, it turned out to be a really cool experience. Hopefully we can make that a tradition.
Do Halloween again. We also did Veterans Day this year.
Saw that.
And I have some props for each of our armed services. And anyway, that wasn't publicized all that much because I wasn't 100% certain when I was going to be able to have that display ready, but it turned out really well, and we had a lot of good community feedback from that as well. And I will be continuing to do that. I love what our armed service members do and our veterans.
Sure.
And so that's
And we donated to the disabled veterans for that. That was
absolutely.
really neat. Yeah.
That's Harry Comprud and Rex Surrett, who have been guests on this show as well. Shout out, guys. One of the things that I think is interesting about this is anytime somebody wants to try to do something in the community, you're talking about, I need to find a venue or I need to do some of the organizational processes to make this thing work. But what you did was you created a community hotspot at your home. Have there been any drawbacks to that?
Not that I can think of.
No.
And matter of fact, our neighbor next door has let us spread over into their yard this year. And our neighbor another door down wouldn't mind if we put some stuff in their yard as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been I don't think there's been any drawbacks other than other than having to go a different route to get to our house. But I really I welcome people to come out and we're out there handing out candy canes most nights and just hearing the amount of joy that it brings to everybody. There's so much. It's a blessing to us, and in turn, I do want to bring the Rust Bus back into the conversation because we do raise money for the Rust Bus, and we've had great outpouring of support from our viewers to be able to bless the Rust Bus with their donations each year, and anyway, it's what it's all about, and we love being able to do that for our community. The Rust Bus organization is fantastic. Fred Teague is just does amazing work.
A superstar of a man.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I thought of a negative. It's kind of funny, but up until last year, these Christmas lights completely took over our house. I mean, I've got a big storage area up in the garage, and I can tell you, it's 21 steps to get up there. And
Exactly 21 steps.
Exactly 21 steps. And I told her 2 years ago, I said, I'm done. I'm not climbing these stairs again. We've got to store them somewhere else. So the only negative is we had to go buy a 40-foot storage container, a sea land, and we put it there. But
We need another one.
and we need another one. But once it's all said and done and everything's put away or everything's out, it's well worth it. So the storage became a problem, but we cured that. And
Absolutely.
it's awesome.
I won't say that there's not some stress when we're doing setup and everything. I mean, we're kind of in a time crunch to try to get it up and running. There's always things that go wrong anytime you're dealing with
Oh, yeah.
anything computer driven. And electrically, there's just so many things to deal with and troubleshooting and everything. But so the stress is really high there while we're setting up. But then, like, the second that we get it turned on, it's like I tear up, and all of a sudden we've got people in line, and all of it goes away when we see the smiles on everybody's faces, and just it's a real blessing.
Tell them about the first Friday night this year. How we didn't even know we were going to get it up and going.
Yeah. So we had been working on setup all day. I had been taking half days off of work every afternoon, come home, just go at it as hard as we could, and I think I got it up and running like 5 o'clock. I posted it at 5:30, like
on a Friday night.
On a Friday, well, I think it was a Saturday. It was a Saturday.
Okay.
But I posted at 5:30. I swear there must have been people hovering, because 15 minutes after I posted, there was people out in front of the house.
We had about 250 cars
that first night.
When she posted it. When she posted it for the rest of the evening, there was, and that's crazy because everybody knew it wasn't up and going until that moment. So that first night was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was amazing to see how quickly the traffic came. But even the weekend before, we had seen some people kind of driving slowly.
Everybody was waiting.
Sure. Kind of looking around.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we were really happy when it got up and running, and it's been going solid ever since. So we just do want to tell people just some tips on coming out. Of course, if I give out all the tips, then everybody will change their times. But coming out at 5:30 p.m. is a really good idea on a weekday, not on a weekend. If you want to get to see a little more of the show anyway. But we have spread it out quite a bit this year, where even as you're waiting, you can see a little more, and that way more viewers get to see something while they're waiting. So,
well, I will tell you this before. I've got one final question because we're about to wrap up here. But before I do that, you know what else lights up? The spotlight. And that is always presented to you by Alathus Realty. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668. Or you can cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. That is what you call a segue, folks. That is a segue.
That's funny.
I want the two of you to answer this independently and take me back, 15, 20 years ago. If I tell you, hey, this is what you're involved in doing 20 years from now, are you surprised by that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is not something that I would have ever thought I would do. But once that seed got planted, it's grown and grown. It's grown into 2 mega trees, and there'll be a third one next year.
Sweet. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah. And I know for me, 15, 20 years ago, all I cared about was racing dirt bikes. So, so this is taking over that consumption. I never would have dreamed that we would have had this many people knowing what we do and come by. And I never would have dreamed we could give this much happiness. I mean, I can't tell you how many squeals we've heard from little ones and tears from grown-ups. When she does some really good veterans tributes, and she does some very touching songs, and it's amazing how lights and music can touch somebody's heart the way it does. So it has absolutely, she's right. There's a lot of stress putting it up. There's times we want to kill each other. But when it's all said and done, it is well worth it. And there's nothing that makes us happier than being out there handing a candy cane to somebody and they share a story with us. You know, it is. It's absolutely, it's a blessing. It really is.
By the way, before we finish up here, first place. We're going to talk about it. I mean, yeah, I've given you all of this time thinking that I'm not going to be the guy, surely, to mention it. Surely it's not going to be me. First place. Congratulations. What'd you win?
Thank you. Russellville Battle of the Bulbs, first place residential display. And
I mean, I mean, no disrespect to anybody else who is competing, but come on. Like, we knew who was going to get first. It's a battle between second and third. We all know this, right? You guys can't say it, but I can say it. I can say it.
Well, the judges did get out of their car and dance a little bit. I think they took some selfies.
You had to feel pretty good about that at that point, yeah.
That was a pretty good sign that they enjoyed it. And I don't think that any of the judges had been up there before. So
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was a surprise to them. I don't know that they got out and danced in front of anybody else's house, but
maybe they did. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but it was I was like, okay, I think they like it.
The experience to me looks a lot like if you were going to take what you think a Disney Christmas movie would be, turn it into a light show, and then put it on your friend's house. That's basically that's kind of the way that I describe it, but in a far grander scale. I mean, my little one she goes crazy. But then I'm glad because I'm in the driver's side and they're looking out the passenger window and they can't see me. Just it's so pretty, and so thank you guys for what it is that you do. Thank you for learning how to do it, and thank you for being on the roof, and thank you for thinking of a hayride.
That's right.
How do people come and see Lights on Linker?
We run starting at 5 p.m. each day. We run until Sunday to Thursday, 5 to 10 on. Friday and Saturday we run 5 to 11. Christmas Eve is always our biggest night. I will actually run it till midnight on Christmas Eve, just in case somebody just wants to be out there. And man, if we're up and I see somebody still out there, I'll hit the extend button. Because I have done that before. If somebody's sitting out there and I notice that, I'll extend it just because if you want to be up there seeing the lights, I want you to see them.
Right.
So,
and tell them about how you'll change.
Yeah, so I run a primarily Christmas-based playlist before Christmas, leading up to Christmas Day, and then after that I changed it up a little bit. There's a little more Disney mixed in there, some more just popular music, and on New Year's Eve I usually do a little countdown,
right.
And I do it each hour. So if you're not there at midnight, I do one I think at 9, 10, 11, and then midnight, so that if you happen to be out and about and want to see it, it's pretty neat too. But we run it through the first week of January typically, and then start taking it down and planning for next year. And
anyway, we need to put out our address too.
Yeah, our address is 394 Quail Ridge Road. We're on Facebook. It's Lights on Linker.
Drive up the mountain.
Yep. It's Lights on Linker on Facebook, and we have an Instagram account at Lights on Linker. And anyway, we invite everybody to come out and enjoy it. It's a gift from us to the community, and we love everybody coming out and
you
seeing it.
do accept donations for the Rust Bus while you're there.
We do accept donations.
There's a box on the mailbox. There's a lit box that says donations go to the Rust Bus, and just to give you an idea how big her heart is, she buys all the props, she does all the work, and she's never accepted a dime for any of that. 100%. If you put $1 in that box, that dollar goes straight to the Rust Bus. Right. This is a gift from her and I to the community, and then we give it all to the Rust Bus. So it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Guys, if you've not seen the show, please go out and check that out. You can check them out on Lights on Linker on Facebook. It is well worth the drive no matter where you are. The show is not one of these 3-minute light shows. It's going to take a little bit of time. You're going to enjoy it. There's several songs the kiddos are going to love it. Claire, Mike, Brooke, Thank you guys so much for being here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
All right, and thank you guys for watching the Spotlight today. Remember, if you are in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.